Welcome to another episode of Behind the Studs, your home improvement and remodeling podcast, where the two most entertaining guys discuss the do's and don'ts in home construction and in the remodeling industry. Remember that you can nail it, paint it, or just tune into the show. How about that? Here are your hosts, Colin Shaw and Jimmy Driscoll.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Season 2, our first show of Season 2. Can you believe it, Jim? Unbelievable.
Still standing.
Still standing.
No, I'm sorry, still sitting.
Well, right, yeah, we can't stand. No, we got to stand.
No,
we're way too old to be standing after working all day. So
you use a walker.
We should get recliners or lazy boys or something.
Yeah, right.
That would be really nice.
That would be the first podcast in a chaise lounge, right? With like a fruit drink with furniture in it.
Right, or maybe in a hammock or something.
There you go.
That would be beautiful.
Oh, like a schematic piece of furniture.
Wow.
Right?
That would be interesting.
I'm working it now.
I wonder if we know anybody who could make something like that.
Jeez, I wonder who.
I bet we know somebody. So, hey, listen, big show today, guys. I'm glad you could join us. We have the one, the only rogue engineer, Mr. Jamison. How are you, sir?
Very well. Nice. Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Really appreciate you joining us. I feel like this is like an episode of Wayne's World where like we're not worthy. We're not worthy. You know? So
I don't know about that.
If you haven't checked out Jamison's site, rogueengineer.com, you definitely got to check it out. We're going to let him kind of fill us in on what it is that he does, what makes him so popular. But a great guest to have on the show, especially for season 2. So we really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us for a little while.
So Jason, how did you get it? How did you start this, my friend? How did you get this going? What made you think of this?
I went to school for aerospace engineering, and I started working for a company called Gulfstream Aerospace, and I was in the flight test department, and I was doing design work, mechanical designer. And so I had that kind of expertise down. And then we moved into a bigger house, and we needed some furniture. And I had always kind of liked working with my hands, but was never really very good at it. I kind of enjoyed it, but wasn't good at it. But I went online and kind of started looking for plans for furniture. And I came across a couple of websites that had good plans, one of which was Anna White. And she's kind of like the founder of this niche of DIY furniture. Right. I followed one of her plans, and it turned out really, really good. And as I was following those plans, I thought to myself, like, this whole design thing, this is what I do. Like, if I can design something just like she did, you know, I could build it myself. So I started designing my own furniture, and the products that I was putting out were pretty good. And people started asking me to build them something, and I decided that if I could just give those plans out for free, I wouldn't have to build it for them. They could do it themselves. So that's kind of how it spiraled, and we developed the website and started publishing those plans on there, and it kind of turned into what it is today.
So teach a man to fish kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like that. And you know, most people, if they move into a large house that doesn't have furniture, they go to IKEA.
Yeah.
But you decided to go a different route, huh?
Yeah, we couldn't afford IKEA.
Right. Okay.
We spent all that money on the house.
Out of the house, right?
Yeah.
I was just working on a house now where the people were just moving in, and it was funny too because when they moved in, they had so much big furniture, it didn't fit in their living room and their great room. I'm like, wow, something's gonna go. Something's gonna get out of the house.
And that's the thing is a lot of the furniture that people pick out they're based on that space. And as soon as you move into a different space, then you've got a different layout. Maybe what you had before doesn't go along with that. And this was just kind of an easy way to be able to kind of make some furniture, not like the bigger pieces, like obviously you're not going to make a couch or a sofa or something like that, which those are the same thing. But you know what I mean? Like a coffee table, an end table here and there, and some outdoor furniture are excellent pieces for beginning woodworkers to start on, for sure.
Nice. Yeah. Now you said you didn't really do any of this before, until you started building furniture for yourself. So where did this creativity come from? Where did this whole side of you come from? It must have been there somewhere, when you were younger, and you just never had a chance to explore it.
Yeah, so my family business, or my father's business, is a trucking company. So I've always kind of been. I grew up in the shop working on trucks with him, changing brakes, changing tires, and I've always just enjoyed getting my hands dirty. It's just something about, as you guys know, at the end of the day, being able to step back and look at what you've accomplished that day, and there's a good feeling there.
Sure, there is. Yeah.
I was able to express some different level of creativity in the engineering world and the design, designing things. But at the end of the day, I wasn't able to kind of produce my design. So this was like the best of both worlds. I was able to design something and produce it and live with that piece. So there's a lot of, that is it's just a good feeling, as you guys know.
All right. Yeah. So just for instance, I want to build a stool. I'm going to build a stool, and I'm going to build it to my specifications, the way I like it, and I'm going to try it and see if it works, and then I'm going to put it online with the schematic. And that's in a simple form. That's how you would do it, basically. I'm going to build a stool and go from there.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so I would design everything up ahead of time because, like I said before, I'm not like there's artists, and I never even really classify myself as a woodworker because I feel like a lot of the woodworkers are in another sense are more of an artist because they can kind of just see a piece of wood and visualize it into something miraculous, whereas I'm not that person. I have to go and design it first and make sure everything is perfect, and then I can start to make my first cut. So,
right.
It's an interesting balance of engineer and creative. That's what I find very interesting about you. That a lot of people, they don't use both sides of the brain. It's usually one or the other. Yeah. So it's pretty interesting that you can utilize both sides and come up with something that people just absolutely love. They love your designs and love the finished product that they're able to produce. And I know people who have done it, that have used your site, and they're not woodworkers, they're not carpenters, and it's come out great,
Yeah, that's great.
It's and that was kind of like the jumping off point for me. Like we started in making that furniture and providing those plans, and a lot of people really enjoyed that. And there's people that were new to the whole woodworking game and wanted to get started somewhere, like you said, and that was where they could get an idea, or even just even if they built to my plans or from my plans to a T, and then there's other guys that come along and they might modify it to meet their needs.
Sure.
But once that site kind of got to a point where I could do that full time and it was bringing in an income to support me and my family, we ended up selling that big house of ours that we had. And we moved up to Michigan in with my wife's parents. So they offered to give us the house and workshop. They moved into the basement, and so we lived with them for it was about 2 years.
Wow.
And luckily,
it was a long time, no matter how long. Yes.
It is. Luckily, I get along with my in-laws very well. So it was, and he had a heated workshop for me that he wasn't using, and he offered to let me use. So it worked out really well. But in that time, we actually bought a house and completely gutted and flipped it. So we did everything from we refinished all the floors, but I tore out walls in the kitchen, did some structural changes. We also built all the cabinets for the kitchen and redid the entire kitchen, as well as both of the bathrooms in the house. So that was like my first step into construction. And luckily I had my father-in-law who's been there and done that. And he also owns an interior design studio. So he has a lot of friends that are contractors, it's nice to have his Rolodex around here for something like that. As you guys well know, having the right contractors for the job is half the battle.
So. It is key.
That is key. Yeah.
So I'm thinking about what you do in your design. What has been the toughest design you've ever? What's your biggest challenge? Is there a piece out there you made that was really challenging?
Well, so the furniture and stuff like that hasn't been that. I would say like flipping that house was one of the bigger challenges. But then after we flipped that house, we then started construction on our own house. or it was like our dream house. So we built that from the ground up, and I was the general contractor on that. We did a lot of the finish work ourselves. So that, as you can imagine, that was definitely the biggest challenge that we had faced. That was about a year. Yeah. So we just finished here this past fall, and that was about a year, a little over a year and a quarter maybe of our life.
Wow. Yeah, that's a long time. But I mean, you did a lot of it yourself, though.
We
right?
did.
Yeah. So I mean, you're trying to run this business and trying to do that at the same time. I mean, there's just so much time in the day. And how old are your kids? You have young kids, don't you?
Yeah, we've got a 7-year-old boy. Well, he's going to be 8 in a couple days now, and a
nice. Happy birthday.
5-year-old girl.
Wow. So yeah, you're right in the middle of things.
Yeah.
Wow.
Both of my kids are in college, so I'm in a different stage right now. So I remember those days. And 5 and 7. Luckily it sounds like you have a good family, support base too, with your in-laws being there to kind of help with that. But still, it's a lot. That's a lot to ask of anybody. Yeah, that's a tough project to get through for sure. So now at this point, did you give the house back to your in-laws, or did you build them a new house, or what?
So they, as soon as we moved out of their house into this house that we're in now, my wife's brother and his family moved into their house in our spot, and my in-laws. It gets complicated. So my in-laws end up buying the lot right next to us, and they have just started construction on a house. So we've got 5 acres here. They've got 10 acres next door, and it should be pretty cool. We've got a bunch of trails and stuff for the kids.
Oh, cool.
But
cool.
You guys would probably appreciate it. We ended up with their house. We ended up doing it's like a raised center aisle barn. If you know what I'm talking about when I refer to a raised center aisle, it's got like basically the center of the barn there's like rafters that come. I don't know how to explain it, but a raised center aisle barn. So you got windows down these walls that come out of the center of the barn, and that is going to be their house. So it should be. They've got side lights going all the way down the center of the house, which would be really neat.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, that's nice. It's a nice story.
Yeah.
It's so funny. A lot of times I hear these stories, and sometimes they always seem to end up with, so we were living with my in-laws. And I'm like, I want to be successful, but I'm not sure how successful.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I can. I love my in-laws. Don't get me wrong, but I'm like,
yeah, but that gives you motivation.
It does.
Yeah. Big motivation.
It does.
Well, and it wasn't supposed to go like this. So when we moved up here, the whole idea was that we finally became location independent, and we could decide where we wanted to live, and we were going to sell our house and free up some cash, and then figure out where we wanted to be. And then it just turned out that we ended up staying up here. So, which is good. I mean, we enjoy being near family, but
sitting where you're sitting now, looking back, I mean, it all made sense. So that's the key.
Yeah, absolutely.
And where is here? Where is
you're in Michigan? Is that right?
Yeah, just outside of Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Okay. Yeah.
Nice warm summers up there, huh?
Yeah.
For about 2 days.
It's a different way of life, for sure. Yes. So I would imagine there had to be some long conversations between you and your wife when you're ready to make that leap from being an engineer to being the rogue engineer and starting the online stuff. I can just imagine my conversation with my wife. It would have been like, what?
Yeah, right.
And where's our insurance coming from? What?
Yeah, that's the common question. But yeah, I think it went something kind of like this. She said, so you want to stop working somewhere else and start working here, like in the house where I'm going to be all day long.
That's a very good answer. I like that one. Now I see her in her videos. So she just picked it up and learned, or did she pick it up from her father? So
yeah, she's got kind of like the design. She's the designer, so she makes everything look pretty. And she's got this vision that is just incredible as far as selecting the right furniture for where and what it's, and decorating and all that stuff. So she makes it look good. I just make it happen. We both make it happen.
That's awesome. It seems like it's a great chemistry. So that's really nice. Yeah. And I did see the video on about I think you're doing a playhouse for your daughter and watching your son help you out and stuff too. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, we try to get the whole family involved whenever possible.
That's awesome.
It's honestly it's hard not to at this age. They're just there all the time. So
right, yeah. What else are you gonna do?
Exactly. We just don't fight it.
There you go. It's probably better that way.
Exactly.
Do you have any advice for any of the do-it-yourselfers to get involved in these projects? Any advice?
I mean, the advice that I have is just like not being afraid to just jump right in. Obviously, safety first, but as far as just getting started, don't be afraid to make mistakes because we all do. I mean, as even the professionals don't know everything. So not being afraid to get started and not being afraid to reach out to people for with any questions that you have, because honestly, a lot of these guys are way more friendly than you would ever imagine, and they just want to help. When it came to construction, that was kind of out of my realm of, I didn't know a lot of the different things that had to be done. So being able to reach out to contractors and ask for their advice and bouncing back and forth to a couple different people and getting different opinions is always a great way to do it for sure.
Great. Super.
Nice.
Very super.
Now, and I know the answer to a lot of these questions, but do you, on your website, do you have like different stages of, different types of projects? Do you let people know like this is a beginner project, this is an intermediate, this is an advanced? That was one thing that I wanted to do in the beginning. It was label those that I never did end up doing that. However, I have all the projects broken out by room. So basically, the whole idea for me was when somebody is coming to my site, they have an idea in mind. They need a piece of furniture for this, whether it's a coffee table or an end table or a chair or a stool. So I've got it broken out into different rooms and categories based on types of furniture. So it seems to have worked out well as far as organizing all of the plans. Right.
We've got a couple hundred now. So.
Yeah. Is that how many you're up to now? Wow.
Yeah, it might be more than that, but that was what it was. I checked.
Now, do you get people that just request different types of pieces that you design for them and throw it up on the site, or
occasionally?
Do you basically do? Yeah.
Honestly, I have more work to do for myself than I care to. So doing plans for other people isn't always at the top of my priorities list.
Understood.
Or my wife's priority list.
Right. Yeah. Build what we've got, and you'll be happy. Right. Oh man.
Any horror stories? Any? Kind of touched upon them already, but not really.
Well, I moved with my in-laws. Did I tell you about that?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, that's
played,
it right there.
Well played.
No, that wasn't.
And if you're gonna sit and count with your kids, you can count to 10 without taking your shoes off. Everything's good.
I can. I still have all the digits.
That's good.
That's a good sign.
All right, it's a good sign. Yeah, sometimes the horror stories that we talk to people about are, a lot of them are customer related. So, anybody ever give you a really hard time, they couldn't figure it out. So they're.
Honestly, that was one of the things that I shied away from the very, very beginning, was not doing, like, I don't do any commission work. So I don't have any customers. My customers are brands that sponsor me. So, which I have some of those horror stories, but that's probably a different podcast.
I'll hit stop on the record and we can talk later.
But no, I mean, like I said, I've tried. I think I've done like maybe 2 projects for other people that I've been paid for, and both of them took me twice as long as they should have, and it's not enjoyable for me because I start to lose some of the creativity that I have, and
right,
and it was never fun. So I always turned all of that down.
Yeah. Well, good for you. I mean, you obviously know what works for you, what doesn't work for you. So it's not like you have to go chase that work. So which is a great thing. Now, when you started to take this, to the next level, I thought it was very interesting. One of the steps that you took was to fly down to a home show and start marketing yourself. Basically, it sounded like is what you did. You spent time emailing different suppliers, obviously, and brands and different things, and the way to get them to pay attention to you was to be face to face, which I thought was a pretty bold move.
Yeah, absolutely. So and that, I mean, we went down to Orlando to the Builder Show, the International Builder Show, which is massive. If anybody ever gets a chance to do it, I recommend it. It's just a really neat experience. There's so many different products there that would blow your mind, and it was one of those things where we kind of it was spur of the moment. I didn't even realize that it was happening when it was happening. One of the brands that I had dealt with said or asked if I was going to be there, and we were like, yeah, we probably need to be there. This seems like a prime location for us. So getting in front of those brands face to face, and as you guys know, being face to face with someone is totally different than talking over the phone, or especially through email, which most of my exchanges happen through. So being able to go down there, we actually had brands that had turned us down, and then we went and met with them in person, and they reversed that and ended up working with us for very big deals, which was huge for us. So that being there opened up a lot of doors for us in our business, and being able to work with those brands for sure.
Nice. Now, was there a time, during the course of all of this that you stopped and thought about it and said, it's not going quick enough, it's just not going to take off? Was there any sort of doubt in your head, or did you feel it was all, moving in the right direction and you were seeing the progress every step of the way?
You're talking about like right off in the beginning before we went full time?
Like when you're before you made that decision to go full time, because there's that little time when you're still you got your foot in the water on one end, and you got your foot that you're trying to dabble into the other end. Similar to you, I have a corporate background, and I did very similar. I had to either decide to be in corporate America, suit and tie every day, or go into this type of work, and I made the leap. But I know a lot of people would kind of straddle it a little bit. So just wondering, they say it takes about 3 years in this industry before, you kind of start to see, something come about. So was there times during that 3-year period that you were like,
Yeah, I've heard the 1,000-day rule.
1,000-day. Yep. I've heard that.
Rule. So, I mean, when I was first starting off, when I got started, I was putting out maybe like one project a month. And that was just more or less a blog post. Back then, I didn't do any video or anything like that, so it was just putting out a blog post with plans, like project plans. And it seemed like every time that I started to get a little down on not getting enough traffic, there would be a little bump in traffic. Or I'd get an email from somebody that would be like, hey, I really appreciate what you're doing. And it was just something uplifting. So it was like, it was constantly, and that would make me want to work harder. And the harder that I worked, the more effort that I put in, the more I got in return. So it was one of those things. Like I said, it came in spikes. So traffic would kind of spike, and then it would plateau, and then a couple months later I'd have another spike, and then it would taper off. And so it kind of went and spiked every so often, which was nice to see those spikes and know that eventually, if you work long enough, they're gonna come.
Sure. Now, do you get a lot of fellow carpenters that say, I can do what you can do. I should do this, full time and make tons of money as well? Do you ever have anybody that just kind of gives you that kind of vibe back?
The Raz.
Yeah, I mean, and I always encourage people because it's not really like a competition for me. The internet is a really big place.
Absolutely.
So I always try and encourage people to do what I'm doing, because I feel like I'm on vacation every day, because it's like I'm getting to do what I want to do all the time. So I always encourage everybody or people that are interested in it to do it, and give them tips and tricks and what I learned along the way.
Nice.
But I also remember being that guy, like, when looking back at Anna White's plans and saying, wow, she looks like she's doing really good with the business, and I know that I can do this, so why don't I try?
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a lot of work involved, and when I was in Georgia working at Gulfstream, it was work. I would come home, have dinner with my family, and then I would go back to work on the website all night, and then all my weekends were gone. So basically, we had no social life.
Sure.
All of my extra time was put into this business and growing it, especially when it got to the point where I could actually start to see that this could be like a full-time gig. So I told you I was putting out like one project a month in the beginning, and right before my jump to full-time, I was putting out 2 projects a week.
Wow.
Which if you talk with anybody in my niche, that's a lot.
That sounds like a lot. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Plus sleeping and eating and stuff like that too.
Yeah. And having a full-time job. So.
Right. Wow. Yeah. I mean, the people don't realize, and it's probably the same thing with actors and actresses too. People are like, they don't really work that hard. They just came to them. And, I don't think there's really anything in this world that comes all that easy to you. So, you got to work for it.
No. Even the lottery's not easy.
No.
Yeah.
So I was on vacation last week, and I was down in the Southern Caribbean, and I passed a convenience store, and the tour guy was bringing us by, and I go, "Can I ask you a question?" He's like, "Sure." I said, "Why do you guys play the lottery here?" I said, "Don't you realize you're in the Caribbean? Where do you want to go? If you win, where are you going? Connecticut?"
Yeah. Right. No.
I'll take your hut. You take my house.
Sounds good.
Let's switch this out.
What a deal!
Yeah.
Such a deal.
Such a deal.
Yeah.
So what trends do you see happening right now with the internet? Do you see a shift in anything, from your end?
As far as like what I do, I see that there's more people getting into what we do, and there's a shift towards video. There's video is a big thing right now. But also like there's more people doing what I do, but there's also a lot more money being invested into influencers, I guess is what you would call myself. There's like a lot more brands are investing into influencer marketing. So that's good for me.
Well, good for you. Yes.
Continue to be on that vacation every day. So
there you go. Teach me how to be an influencer. I got to influence somebody around here. Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah. So, one question I wanted to ask you. Have you held any grudges against any advertisers, manufacturers, suppliers? You don't have to mention who.
Not really.
No.
I really have a hard time with the whole corporate mentality.
We do too. We do too. Yeah.
So people constantly trying to have meetings and metrics and dates and stuff like that. I have kind of a little bit of a chip on my shoulder as far as that stuff goes. But overall, no, I'm a pretty easygoing guy. I don't technically. I try not to hold any grudges. And I guess the only other thing is cheap people or cheap advertisers.
Yeah.
It's it's like
they're out there.
Yeah. It's like going to remodel a house and you ask them what their budget is and it's a couple $100. It doesn't really work, right?
Yeah.
No,
right. Yeah. No, it doesn't work.
Not at all.
Yeah. No, we've had a couple. We've been fortunate that we had a couple people looking to advertise with us, and other people that don't want to even talk to us. And I'm like, all right, someday,
right?
Someday. Yeah. I'm the one who would hold a grudge. So Jimmy will be the easygoing guy.
We can dream, can't we?
Well, it's always more expensive the second time around too, right?
Absolutely, it is. Yep. Could have gotten in on the ground floor. Look what happened. I'll tell you. All right. So how does everybody find you, Jamison?
You can check out my website at rogueengineer.com. ROGUE.
Yep.
UGE is Rouge Engineer.
It's Rouge. We don't want Rouge. Yes.
So Rogue Engineer is all my channels. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube as well.
Beautiful. And did you buy up the Rouge Engineer website just in case?
No, I didn't. I didn't.
All right. Look into it. You never know.
That's not a bad idea.
Well, yeah. Well, Jamison, it was great having you on our show. Thank you so much for taking the time to do so.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you.
Wish you continued success, and anytime you want to reach out, and we'd love to hear from you. Wishing you the best.
Thanks, man.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Take care, guys.
No problem.
Great education. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.